My name is Lindsay Dameron, and I am seeking my Master's of Arts in Teaching in Family and Consumer Sciences at Eastern Kentucky University. This is my capstone research project, integrating technology into the family and consumer sciences classroom. Technology has become a staple for the classroom, not just as a resource used, but for research and many other aspects of education. In 2015, Kentucky added technology to its academic standards, saying that technology use in the 21st century is a vital component of all aspects of life. Students in Kentucky must receive an education that incorporates technology literacy at all levels to be contributing citizens. That is why the purpose of this study was to examine how to incorporate technology into the family consumer sciences classrooms to help students learn the content effectively. Being a family and consumer science candidate for teaching, it was important to look at how each aspect of technology would encourage students' learning. Aspects such as how technology enhances students' learning, the attitude stu- towards learning with technology, and what advantages and disadvantages technology has for learning material. All of these, which would be in the family and consumer sciences classroom. From those aspects, the research questions were derived. The specific research questions are: what technology can most effectively enhance students' learning when taught in a family and consumer sciences classroom setting? What attitudes do students have when technology is incorporated? And what advantages and disadvantages could technology play for students and teachers on the material at hand? In the literature review section of this study, it talks about the research that has already been conducted in the family and consumer sciences classroom. This research is mainly on mobile learning since cell phones have been a part of society for a long time. In 2014, C. Leslie stated that the effective family and consumer sciences teachers could continually consider how the learning environment connects with the changing needs of students, seeking to understand shifts in the ever-increasingly technology-infused world. This is what Annette Hayes, Roxy Godfrey, and Duke all have done in their classrooms by seeking to incorporate mobile learning. They all discovered that mobile phones can build a new connection with teachers and their students, course content in their students, and help the teachers and students experience a new physical and virtual environment. In today's classroom, there are so many more alternatives to technology than just the cell phone, but there are three themes that had to be looked at before the study could be carried out. The first theme that was looked at was what technology is the most effective. This took on a new perspective in the research of literature. When looking to see what technology has been effective in the past, there was little research done, and most research talked about access, equal access to technology, and equal access to the internet. Having access to technology has been something every school system has ran into. This is because of funding and budgets in the school system. Many schools only had or have computer labs or mobile laptops that need updated. Some school systems are a little more advanced and have multiple resources of technology, such as iPads, Chromebooks, along with the computer labs and mobile laptops. When you have your extremely advanced school systems that provide one-on-one technology for their students with iPads or Chromebooks. Borsheimer, Merritt, and Reed said that with the society we live in today, equal access is something we cannot assume. Then there is equal access to the internet, which goes back to access to technology. If there is not equal access to the internet, then there is not use in the access to technology. Brady and Hawley spoke about when students are technology savvy and familiar with the benefits that come from technology, the faster the pace of work, concluding that access to internet and technology would benefit all students and the teacher. The second theme that was looked at was attitude. Attitude is always key when it comes to working with students in the classroom. Attitudes in the family and consumer science classrooms are not as difficult to satisfy as they would be in other core classes due to the nature of the classroom. But to win at integrating the technology, the attitudes must be positive. In 2011, Hicks stated that when most of today's educators were in school, technology was not available like it is now. Schools did not have the internet, email, smartboards, or any technological tools to enhance the learning experiences. In today's classroom, technology abounds and students are extremely tech savvy. To be able to learn effectively, students must be comfortable with the technology to have a good attitude about using the technology to learn. This comes with some struggles of students who are not comfortable, but changing their minds by examples and help can majorly change attitudes. The third theme is the advantages and disadvantages. Just like anything in education, you have advantages and disadvantages. When it comes to incorporating technology and making it effective in the classroom, many studies have shown that there are four main disadvantages: physical space, placement, training, and misuse of technology in the classroom. Physical space is talking about the physical space and placement in the classroom. If technology is going to be incorporated, then there needs to be space to have the technology. When incorporating new things into a classroom, teachers must be trained in the use of and the proper administration of the technology. Training can be expensive and time consuming for school systems. Then you have the misuse of technology. This can be anywhere from breaking or vandalizing the technology to students using them for something other than the schoolwork. With advantages or with disadvantages, you also get advantages. In the research, there were many advantages found as well. Technology provides vibrant learning experiences, 21st century skills, resources for at-risk students and special needs, and many uses for many forms of assessments for teachers. The advantages go much deeper than the disadvantages. The advantages cover everything a student needs on a daily basis in education. Vibrant learning experiences and 21st century skills are things that will help change students' attitudes about coming to school, will encourage them to come to school every day, give them something to look forward to, and things they will use the rest of their lives. Technology can provide at-risk students and students with special needs paths to help them learn the content effectively, such as using an electronic reader on a Chromebook to help them read the article they were assigned. Not only are the advantages about student learning, but also about helping the teacher in their everyday work to see if their students are grasping their content. Being able to see what the students are researching and giving them online tests that automatically grade them for the teacher to see where her students are in learning the new objective. The literature review shows that with more research, like this Capstone research project, it will help teachers, especially family and consumer science teachers, understand the concept of using technology in the classroom effectively. Now we are on to the actual research part of this paper. The methods section restates the purpose, and it is to examine how to incorporate technology into the family consumer sciences classroom to help students learn content effectively. The design is an experimental research design, showing cause and effect. If use of technology affects the grades of students, is what it is showing. The variables are the independent variable, the students using technology or students using traditional resources, and the dependent variable is the grade that the student receives on the assignment. The area in which this study was conducted was a family consumer sciences classroom in a high school in southeastern Kentucky. It was done on the first 9 weeks or half of a semester, and the participant pool is 68 high school students, ages ranging from 14 to 18 years old. These students had different backgrounds, they were very diverse in their interests, they had very similar or same ethnicities and religions, and many of them had IEPs and 504s. The instrument that was used was Google Sheets. There were two Google Sheets, and this was adapted and edited for the use of researcher by the researcher. The two separate Google Sheets both included the grading system, which included the percent range, grade, and number of students, and a bar graph. And the second tab had the individual grades and the average grade for the class. Both of these tabs were extremely important in the research design. For the data analysis, there were ethical considerations. The ethical considerations that were taken were confidentiality. Every student and every parent knew that they were in this research. There were no names used to identify. They were identified as student one, student two, and so on. There was internal and external validity. The internal validity was from the pilot study that was conducted, and then the external validity was used to help other family consumer science teachers see how effective technology can be in the classroom. The pilot study was conducted and the Google Sheets were changed accordingly to help make the research easier to read and more valid. The null hypothesis for this research was that there would be no significant difference when using technology on assignments. The alternate hypothesis was there will be a significant difference when using technology on assignments. When the project started, the students in one class did the assignments using traditional resources such as books, magazines, library resources, and more. The students in the other class did the assignments using technology resources such as Chromebooks, iPads, Padlet.com, Google.com, and more. Once the students would finish the assignments, the grades were placed in the Google Sheet that was made for their classroom, therefore entering the data into the Google Sheets. After the research was finished, the results came in. In each class, there were 34 students. The images below show the second tab on each Google Sheet and what the results look like. The first picture for the first chart shows the Facts Essentials traditional resource class. The average for the class for the traditional resources was an 83. The second image below, or the second chart, shows the class that used technology resources, and the average was an 88. This shows a 5% difference in the two class averages. On the last slide, you saw the class averages in chart form. Now, this slide shows you the class averages or the average scores in bar graph form. As you can tell, this is a visual representation of each assignment. By looking at them, you can tell there is a larger difference in the average scores per assignment with traditional resources, which is in the first bar graph, compared to the average scores per assignment with technology resources, which is the second graph. All information was gathered throughout an entire 9 weeks. At the end of the 9 weeks, the research ended and the letter grades were put in for the student report cards. The images on this slide show the letter grade distribution of the students who use traditional resources. That image is on the left, and the image on the right is the grade distribution for the students who use technology. In the image on the left, the grades ranged from A's to F's. There were 11 C's, 1 F, and 1 D in the final grades. 61% of the entire class had an A or a B. In the image on the right, the grades ranged from A's to C's. There were no D's or F's in this class. And this class is the one that used technology resources. 94% of the entire class had an A or a B. Looking at these charts, they differ greatly from the charts that you saw on the slide before. When looking at the class averages as an individual assignment, the percentages were not extremely different. There was only a 5% difference in the class averages between the two. The significant difference came in with these two charts showing the letter grades for each individual student. A 33% difference in the classes for A's and B's. That is a large significant difference. Individually, technology had a large impact on the learning of the content effectively. This rejected the null hypothesis, which stated there will be no significant difference when using technology on assignments, and accepted the alternative. During this research, there was a lot of things that happened. In the findings, it was found that using traditional resources was harder and not as in depth for the students. The attitudes of the students that used traditional resources, they were lazy, they were put off by the assignment, they hated having to use a book to research information, with them knowing that they could use technology and it would be much faster. When it came to the class that used technology resources, it was easier, it was very natural for those students to get finished. The attitudes of the students that use technology, they were easygoing. Some of them, you will always have those students who make it difficult, but they still used that technology and got most of the work done when if they used traditional resources, they would lay their head down or they would be put off by that assignment. Using technology also made the assignments into shorter assignments. An assignment that took traditional resources 2 days took the technology resources a day or maybe even half of a day to finish. In conclusion, for this assignment or this research project, the null hypothesis was declined and the alternate hypothesis was accepted. The technology resources was effective and it made learning more efficient for students. The limitations in this study: sample size, location, bias, and data that had not been provided before the study. The sample size was much smaller than anticipated at the beginning of the study. There were only 68 students in the sample, which is very small. The location was much smaller than anticipated and in a smaller area. These students are from a region that does not have most up-to-date technology or technology that always works. There was also bias in the study due to the nature of the researcher being a teacher and knowing that a C in family consumer science is not what you want. This is a life skills class. This is something they want to use for the rest of their life. Also, the data that was being provided was not up to date. At the end of the 9 weeks, the teacher learned that multiple students of hers were gifted and talented. Knowing that the students were gifted and talented would have created a higher understanding of certain areas of coursework, and the teacher could have adapted the research accordingly. From this study, it can be implied that incorporating technology into the family and consumer sciences classroom does help students learn content effectively. This is derived from the 33% difference in the letter grade distribution. But it cannot be concluded, and more research needs to be done. In the future, the recommendation brought about by this research is that it should be done on a larger scale. The scale of the research done on this paper was very small and with a similar demographic. Family and consumer science is a nationwide subject and is in almost every school nationwide. Possibilities to carry out this research study would be done for an entire state or for a larger city. This would cover many different demographics and would be done on a larger scale, so the sample size would be much larger and the information would not be as skewed. If the study could be done on a larger scale, the possibilities would be great. And that concludes my capstone research project on integrating technology into the family and consumer science classroom. Thank you for your time.